Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Deepak, sports scientist, sports psychology from NS Nice Patiala. We are going to start the module 3, which is about linking psychology concepts with applications. And the first unit is personality and sports performance. Personality and sports performance, how personality is implicated and related to sports performance. So we'll have a discussion about that. Actually, when we talk about personality, we have seen many theories in personality which try to define personality in terms of types, traits, and different typologies are there. So, not going much into the theories, I will try to relate the subject to more of sports than the theories. So, the thing that is of more importance to sport is how we are defining personality here. So, uh, the first concept which we need to understand is what is a psychological disposition and what is a trait. So, Trait, trait, if we define it simply, trait is a relatively permanent quality of personality. Trait is a relatively permanent quality of personality. Means he this is the individual have a trait means that the individual have a predisposition to act in a certain way. They have a predisposition to act in a certain way in most but not in all of the situations. Means there might be a change, there might be a slight change in this trait uh, in case of any changes in the person's environment and person's surroundings. So traits are relatively permanent qualities. Relatively, the word relatively is very important here. Relatively permanent qualities of personality. So these are the traits. We may say the example of trait may be extrovert, introvert, or any other typology may be means indicated here. Okay. Then the second thing that comes to the discussion that is more important for discussion is disposition. Disposition. What is a disposition? Okay. So dispositions are broad, pervasive, encompassing ways of relating to particular type of people or situation. So a disposition means the the general way, the broad way in which the person relates to situations, different situations, the general way in which the person relates to different situations, different kind of people. So it is broader than the trait. Trait is trait is a means it may be like the trait may be specific to different kind of situations, but the disposition is a person's broad and pervasive style of uh, broad and pervasive style of interacting to the environment. Broad and pervasive style of interacting to the environment. So the next discussion about this personality section, next most next important discussion of this personality section is what about personality inventories? When we go about using personality inventories, so what things should be taken care of? So the most important personality inventories which have been there since quite a long time are this Minnesota Multiple Personality Inventory, that is MMPI. But as you can see in this presentation, it is meant to diagnose illness. It is meant to diagnose illness. There are clinical scales in this inventory, and you can find out the relate to the clinical pictures. So it is meant to diagnose illness. Then the another important inventory that comes to mind is California Psychological Inventory. This again have a problem with its reading. It needs a comprehension level of at least 10th grade. a comprehension level of at least 10th grade. And when we take the other important personality inventories into this discussion, so CATL 16 PF comes to the CATL 16 PF comes to mind, and the new PI, the new personality inventory. But the major shortcoming with all these personality inventories is they do not include a single item. They do not include a single item related to thoughts, emotions, or behaviors in competitive sports situation. So most of these inventories I have mentioned here do not have a specific item related to competitive sports situation. So these inventories may not be valid as predictors of sports performance. Then, and what else? What else is there with this personality inventory? Is the evidence doesn't support the existence of a consistent psychological profile of highly successful performers. Means highly successful performer, the athletes who have been highly successful. So there is not a consistent psychological profile. And then the traits we are talking of, the traits most of you must have noticed that this CATL 16 PF or MMPI or CPI or NeoPI, they all try to classify personality into different types, different traits and different types. So another discussion which another point which comes to mind when we try to define personality this way is either these traits are inherited, are developed, are both. This is not clear. Is it inherited, developed, or both? That is not clear. And another findings which have been seen in most of the studies is results of personality profile cannot predict sports success perfectly. This results of personality profile, results of personality profiling an athlete cannot predict sports success perfectly. So we cannot identify talent on we cannot identify athletic talent on the basis of these personality profiles. So this is a major shortcoming with these personality profiles that are being used, that are being widely used. That is a major shortcoming, and the shortcoming is not with the personality inventory. The shortcoming is actually with the conceptualization of these personality. How these personality inventories have been conceptualized in terms of traits and types. So now how this elite athlete profiling has progressed so far. Since I will try to give you a picture of how this profiling thing for elite athletes have been progressing and to what consensus we have reached till now. So an elite athlete is an athlete who is eligible for competition at the national, international, or Olympic level. So who is being called an elite athlete is an athlete who is eligible for competition at the national, international, or Olympic level, or who are professional sports persons. So now the efforts at profiling these athletes has been going on since quite a long time now. So the early sports personality research initially means from where it can be means scientifically uh, from where it can be scientifically concluded is from Williams in 1980 tried to find out the personality characteristic of successful athletes, and if you can see the findings in the presentation, you can see that a typology has been tried where this it's a, this means that these findings are more related to gender. So they're more related to gender. So it is another kind of typology where uh, male and female typology is being made in terms of personality. So means women with more masculine features, women with more masculine features were thought to be performing better, actually found to be performing better than the women with feminine characteristics. So the it's initially it was about typology regarding gender. Then comes Rayleigh in 1979, Rayleigh's research. So he administered the Cattell 16 PF on suffer players, and again according to the 16 PF, actually its results are in terms of traits. So they were suffer players were found to be stable, extrovert, tough-minded, highly efficient, aggressive, and dominant. So these are all again traits in terms of traits. Tails 1973. He has again he has again given his findings in terms of traits, and then Troll and Peterson. So what they have found is main difference between winning and losing football teams was that winning team was less sportsmanlike. Winning team was less sportsmanlike. Means this again a typology of sportsmanlike. The traits of sportsmanship. The traits of sportsmanship has been implicated here. So and important thing is that he concluded that personality was not an important factor in football performance. Personality was not an important factor in football performance. Then, when this trait approach, uh, when further studies were done, so the findings revealed another kind of orientation regarding personality, another kind of orientation regarding personality. What it was, Bennett in 1979 did a study on wrestlers and found that successful wrestlers scored higher on measures of self-confidence. Okay, then perceiving their skill as closer to their maximum potential. So maximum potential when means high ability, and then ability to focus attention on task related issues. So these three. Now if we try to uh, uh, if you try to understand these findings, what we can understand, it is not in terms of some traits. This study is not talking in terms of trait. This is talking in terms of some broad abilities. It's not trait, it's abilities. It's abilities. Here we can broadly say disposition, the broad pervasive way with which a person interacts to certain particular situation. The perceiving their skills as closer to maximum potential, ability to focus attention on task related issues, self-confidence. So these are basically not the traits but the abilities, the broad pervasive abilities. So now the approach is shifting from traits to broad pervasive abilities. Okay, and then an important path-breaking study was that Morgan 1979, Morgan did a study and found out that there is an iceberg profile while doing a research with this profile of mood states. He found that there is a iceberg profile. What does that mean? That successful athlete, when we talk of this profile of mood state, this is a questionnaire, profile of mood state questionnaire, and it has this 6 dimension of tension, depression, anger, vigor, fatigue, and confusion. Okay, profile of mood states. Now we have to understand this thing: tension, depression, anger, fatigue, confusion, and vigor. Now, what is mood? What is mood? Mood is again a broad and pervasive feeling. Mood, what we call mood, is a broad and pervasive feeling over a period of time. That is called mood. And affect is we can call feeling for a certain means for a maybe lesser period of time and interval of time. So mood is a broad and pervasive feeling for a bigger period of time, and affect is a transient kind of feeling that stays there for means certain interval. Okay, so now this mood word has come into this personality discussion, and again the thing I'm trying to correlate is this mood is very closely related to disposition, because both are broad and pervasive. So mood is very closely related to this our disposition. So this iceberg profile, what they found is that um, he was doing Morgan was doing a research on his talents and burnout. So successful athletes score lower on tension, depression, anger, fatigue, and confusion, and they score higher on vigor. Okay, they score higher on vigor. So what happens? This all this dimension there is a means, what we can say, there is a normative line, and successful athletes score below the normal population norm on depression, tension, anger, fatigue, and confusion, and they score higher on vigor, that is above the this normal population, above the normal population. So it creates the iceberg kind of profile. So that iceberg profile of successful athletes. So now what we have seen with this research is that the understanding of personality has shifted from trying to find out the traits to finding out the uh, broad and pervasive mood states, broad and pervasive feelings. And what did Marvin conclude? What did Marvin conclude is generally high-skilled athletes score relatively low in neuroticism, tension, depression, anger, fatigue, and confusion. They tend to score high in self-confidence, self-concept, self-esteem, vigor, meager achievement, dominance. So if you concentrate on all these words, whatever has been found out, if you try to concentrate on all these words, you'll find that these are not traits, but these are dispositions. These are dispositions. So these are dispositions. These are the broad and pervasive way. These are our self-confidence is our self-confidence. The level of self-confidence is a indicator of how I am going to interact with people in general. How I'm going to interact with most of the people and most of the situations in general. My self-concept, my self-esteem, my need achievement, these all are basically our dispositions, not traits. These are not traits. Okay, independence, sociability, mental toughness, creativity. These are not traits. These are dispositions. The broad way. If a person is said to be creative, so being creative is that person will be he will whatever he is working upon, he will try to find out a creative way of doing it. He will try to find out a creative way of doing it. So that's his broad and pervasive way, the way he interacts with the situation. And so the conclusion was psychological profile of elite athletes reveal a person who is mentally healthy, physically and psychologically mature, and committed to excellence. Now, how broad these terms are: mentally healthy, physically and psychologically mature, and committed to excellence. So these are broad terms. These are dispositions that a person can generally have. So now you can see that this whole discussion is moving from trying to find certain specific traits and types to finding out the broad disposition, finding out the broad and pervasive way. in which broad and pervasive ways, in which broad and pervasive ways, which indicates how good a person is going to be at sports. So now, we'll talk about the psychological dispositions. We have talked about the traits and the types. Now we need to talk about the psychological disposition. So these characteristics are depicted as styles or tendencies of thinking and not personality traits. These are dispositions are basically styles and tendencies. Or disposition is the style and tendency. The style we think, the tendency, the thinking tendencies or disposition. It's not a personality trait. So again, Vanden did a study, and in 1993, and he again has concluded with a set of dispositions for elite athletes. Set of dispositions. Basically, if we try to initially, what we are trying to find out was specific things with which we can means make a profile of athlete, with which we can say that this A, B, C, and D makes a elite athlete, and with this these traits make a elite athlete, and this set of traits doesn't make a elite athlete. But now they when they when we correlate all these findings together, we'll find out that actually these we cannot separate these abilities. We cannot separate these abilities. These are all correlated, and we can call these abilities as disposition better. So disposition will be a better term to define at least the personality, at least the athletic personality. So we should better think about how dispositions are playing a role in sports performance. So psychological dispositions. What dispositions have been found to be important in sports performance? First one is risk taking. Risk taking tendency. The risk taking tendency has been found to be important in game performance. Risk is defined as a dangerous element or factor, or a possibility of loss or injury is called as a risk. So Mellon concluded that athletes' perception of danger, creates excitement and a desire to master the environment. Okay? So when the athletes perceive that there is a danger, that there is a danger in the situation, so it creates excitement and desire to master the environment. But means the way we define risk, is that risk is a dangerous element or factor, a possibility of loss or injury. So he said he has found out that athlete's perception of danger creates excitement and desire to master the environment. However, skilled competitors will rarely perform tasks for which they are not well trained and physically fit. Okay? So skilled competitors, the skilled players, will rarely perform tasks. They like to take risks. Risk taking tendency is higher, but they won't take that risk for which they are not trained. So risk taking tendency is a disposition that is required for athletic performance, but the athlete will be that much mature that he will not take that kind of risk for which he is not trained, and for which he is not physically fit. Okay, then these behaviors occur most often during situations that require solving problems and making decisions. So this kind of risk-taking behaviors occur while trying to solve a problem or making decisions. They can take a risk. They can take a risk. The means the situation where the situation requires to solve a problem or make a decision, where they have to solve a problem and make a decision. So the athlete will be prepared to take risk. So risk taking tendency is there. Elite athletes will have a go for it attitude. Where a less skilled athlete will tend to back off. So the elite athlete will go for it. They will be able to take the risk. They will be willing to take the risk. They will be willing to take the risk. But the unskilled athlete will back off. Then stimulus seeking tendency. Stimulus seeking tendency. Athletes enjoy the challenges presented in competitive sports. So they have a tendency to seek sensation. They have a tendency to seek sensation. They seek for challenges. They seek for challenges. So they enjoy the challenges presented in competitive sports. And stimulus seeking is a motivational factor to participate in sport and to engage in risk-taking behavior. So stimulus seeking is another psychological disposition that is found to be important. Then competitiveness. So competitiveness is another disposition. SOQ, the sports orientation questionnaire, is used to measure the extent to the desire to win. Sports orientation questionnaire is used to measure this desire, and there are three dimensions. The three dimensions are competitiveness, win orientation, and goal orientation. Competitiveness, win orientation, and goal orientation. So what is win means result oriented, more of result oriented. Win orientation means more of result oriented, and goal orientation means more of performance orientation. Okay. So what are the findings here? Athletes score higher on all three dimensions, with competitiveness being the major discriminator. So competitiveness will be the major discriminator among the skilled and unskilled. Skilled and means the major discriminator for the skill level of the player. On the competitiveness dimension, we can differentiate among the skill level of players. Elite athletes did not score uniformly high on win orientation, but were more oriented toward the quality of their performance than toward the context outcome. What I say, that elite athlete will not be having very high scores on win orientation, but they will be having more high scores on goal orientation. They will be more oriented to perform better than to have a positive outcome of the game. Okay. So they measure their success. They measure their success by performing at the personal best rather than by winning or losing. So their success is athlete success. The elite athletes measure their success by their the level they perform, then the outcome of the performance. So they will like to perform at their personal best than win or lose. So implications for coaches is that quality performance deserves at least as much recognition as the context outcome. Means the performance should be valued as much as the game's outcome. If a athlete is giving his personal best and still he could not manage to win, his performance should be valued as much as a win. Then self-confidence. Self-confidence, it is the athlete's belief about his or her ability to be successful in performing a desired skill. So athletes believe about performing a desired skill, ability to perform a desired skill is self-confidence. Phelps, 1988, defined self-confidence as the belief that one can successfully execute a specific activity rather than a global trait that accounts for overall optimism. Means self-confidence is a belief to successfully execute a specific activity. It's not the global optimism. Global optimism we talk of that I can do whatever I'm putting my hands at. But it is the belief that if a person can successfully execute a specific activity. So that is called self-confidence according to Phelps 1988. Then Phelps has further described it. What is state sports confidence? Self-confidence type again he is divided in types. State sports confidence. So, state sports confidence is the belief or degree of certainty individuals possess at one particular moment about their ability to be successful at sport. One particular moment, their ability to their belief to be successful in their sport at one particular moment will be called state sports confidence. State sports confidence. Okay, so at one particular moment, their belief about their ability to be successful at their sport. Then comes the trade sport confidence. So trade sports confidence is their usual belief about their sport success. So state is basically when we talk about state and trade, anxiety and other this psychological concepts have also been divided in this kind of type. State means at one particular time, and trait means it's a means relatively permanent. It is relatively permanent. It's there for quite a period of time. So state sports confidence and trait sports confidence. So again, so maintaining high confidence is accompanied by positive emotions, improved concentration, increased efforts, lower susceptibility to mental distraction, reduced muscular tension, and all these things. So self-confidence is again going to be a disposition. The level of self-confidence is again going to be a disposition which will predict the athlete's sports performance. It's a disposition. The self-confidence is a disposition. It's not a trait. It's a disposition that will describe how successful the athlete is going to be at his particular sports. Then, what is self-efficiency? Self-efficiency is a situational specific form of self-confidence. Is a situational specific form of self-confidence that self-efficiency is means its efficiency is the skill to reach a certain goal. Goal is self-confidence. Goal is self-confidence. So he can self-efficiency is being able to successfully perform the skills which will lead to the certain desirable outcome. The skills which are required to reach a certain positive outcome. So the belief to be able to successfully perform those skills will be self-efficiency. The belief to be able to successfully perform those skills will be called self-efficiency. Many self-efficiencies will make a person self-confident. So self-efficiency is the way leading to the global self-confidence. Then comes another psychological disposition, that is attentional styles. We have heard a lot about attentional styles. Neideffer has defined attentional style as a predisposition to attend to environment in a certain personalized manner. Means the manner in which we attend to our environment. There are lots of things going on around us, but all of us have a different attentional style, a different way with which we attend to whatever is going around us. So there are types, that is internal, external, broad, and narrow. So these are the attentional styles which are implied by most of us: internal attentional style, external attentional style, broad attentional style, and narrow attentional style. So each person possesses a unique manner of attending to environmental stimuli. Elite performers have the ability to shift their attention as the situation demands. So elite performers can be recognized by the ability to shift their focus according to the situational demand. They will be shifting their focus. They have this flexibility to shift their focus from broad to narrow and from internal to external, from time to time as per the situation. And their attentional style is compatible with the type of skill they most often perform. The type of skill they perform, their attentional style will be compatible with that. So a successful elite performer, what they will do? They will associate their attentional style with the skill they are performing. They will associate their attentional style with the skill they are performing. So, on the basis of an athlete's ability to shift his attentional style according to the situation, and his attentional style, by judging his attentional style in correlation to his game skills, we can find out what kind of what level of performance this athlete can be in future. So these are basically these are the things which we need to look for while we are trying to look for elite athletes. These are the things we should be looking for, rather than looking for some traits. We should be looking for this kind of abilities. This can successfully predict the athlete's future. Then expectations for success. What is the expectation for success in the athlete? So one reason for upset in sports is that more successful teams do not perceive their opponent as threat to their success. Okay, so expectation for success, should be there, but when we have this expectation for success, we should be considering, means this expectation of success should be in correlation to the team or opponent we are playing with. Maybe if it is a weak team, so this expectation of success will be high. If this is a strong team, this expectation of success will be low. But it should not be like that. We don't have any perception of threat. We don't have any threat to success. So this upsets only happen when teams stop considering the opponent as a threat. So that's why we see these upsets in games. So expectation of success is very important in that. Expectation of success should be there, and expectation of success should be kept in correlation with the type of team or opponent the sportsman is playing with. It should be varying. Expectation of success should be varying according to the opponent team or player's ability. Then comes mental toughness. Mental toughness is one of the most famous concepts. Mental toughness is one of the most famous concepts nowadays. So Dr. James Lock has talked about mental toughness. It means to reach and sustain high performance. How the athlete can reach and then sustain. It's not only reaching high performance, but it is reaching and then sustaining. Okay, so the belief in mental toughness is means some people keep on speculating about where from this mental toughness comes. So is there a gene of mental toughness? Is there a gene that is responsible for people being mentally tough or not? So it means if we think in those terms, there is a gene for mental toughness, means if I'm not mentally tough, if I'm losing the games, I'm not responsible for it. My genetic makeup is responsible for this failure. So that way it is self-destructive. That way it is self-destructive. It is not something that is genetically determined. It is basically developed over years of practice. So that disposition, this mental toughness needs to be developed. And mental toughness is the way it is described is these people who are mentally tough are self-motivated, self-directed, positive but realistic. So when we say these terms, being self-motivated and self-directed, what does this mean? Being self-motivated doesn't mean you should be motivated all the time, and means it actually the motivation comes from doing some very small activity. It's not like means it coming the motivation is coming out of blue, and means the person is able to maintain that motivation every day. What we have seen is athletes try to derive motivation out of their simple activities. If the athlete has been able to run 8 laps a day, then and he feels that it means he feels that he can do a little more. What happens when when he is able to do one more lap? That one more lap becomes motivation for next day. And in means in a period of time, what happens? Increasing this lap, it increases his this self confidence. We can say self confidence. It increases his motivation that if I can do this much, I can do this much also. And ultimately, the goal is why I am doing all this. Why I am doing all this? I am doing all this. Then this thought comes back. I am doing all this because I want to be a great athlete, and that is the motivation. So very small activities, the eating patterns, the eating patterns, the other daily routines, these all create motivation. So more athletes need to be directed this way. Athletes need to be directed this way. So then only they can the concept of mental toughness can be generated. And then comes the ability to regulate stress. This is again a psychological disposition, how the stress regulation ability of the athlete. So, ability to remain cool under situations of tension and stress is a true sign of a champion. A champion can remain cool under situation of tension and stress. The key to remain cool is not to eliminate stress, but to regulate it by using proper coping techniques. So it is not like the athlete is not stressed. He has that stress, because we have seen that this arousal and performance curve, to give the maximum performance, you have to be at a certain level of arousal. If you're not aroused, you won't be able to perform. So that arousal will be there, but they will be able to regulate that arousal with specific strategies. Like you must have seen many players who miss after having a good match, after having a good day, they will start reacting like anything. So what they're doing, they're not regulating. They are not regulating their this arousal level, stress, anxiety, whatever you call it. So they are not regulating it. But and then what happens after a period of time, after certain months, certain days, their performance starts declining. When you look at the top performers, what you find that their emotional reaction, this arousal, stress, or whatever we can call it actually. So they try to actively manage that. They won't show that level of arousal. They won't show that aggression. They won't show that happiness. Even happiness, that won't be very visible from them. So it is not like the person is not happy. The person is very happy, but they are regulating it. They have practiced it over years of their training. So that stress regulation thing should be there. So this was all about our discussion about personality and sports performance. What I have tried to do is give you a give you a trend of how sports psychology is moving in terms of personality research. Sports psychology is moving in terms of personality research, because if we try to import those trait and type approaches, that is not very well fitting into sports situation. So we have to start thinking in terms of dispositions, in terms of broad characteristics which can which can better define an athlete's performance for a period of time. And means I have told the theoretical parts very lightly. So maybe you can try to look at those theories, whatever has been mentioned in this presentation, and then you can get back to me for in case of any query or questions. Thank you so much.